he just called me. He's ill tonight, so Craig is out.
Hopefully John will be here.
Well, we got two alternates that
Yeah.
sit.
Are you sick, or are you just preventing sick?
That, the
Preventing
latter.
sick is smart.
Well, you know, the flu thing is, I don't wanna get the flu.
I don't blame you. I got two guys at work, COVID, that are out, and there's a lot of other people I know that have it.
And a friend of mine got the flu vaccine, and he got the flu, and he's still like knocked out. It probably lessened it a little bit, but he said it's really bad.
Lucky. I've been testing myself, and
I got my flu vaccine, regular
And he
flu.
did too, though, and he got knocked for a little
yeah,
bit.
that
Month
usually
ago.
happens to me. If I get it, I get it.
Yeah,
So I don't even bother anymore.
yeah, last year Lee got it, the flu vaccine, and he got the flu, like, it knocked him out for 5 days.
That's
Which is a lot for
first
him.
time I got it. I got sick from it, but.
No, I
haven't had a
mean,
reaction
what I meant
since.
is not from the vaccine, he got the flu 2
Oh,
months
even
later
still.
anyway,
Really?
and he was knocked out. But like I said,
ready for winter
yeah,
or not?
but I'd just rather not get
I'm
it
ready,
at all.
but no.
If I can
Paid and
help
done?
it.
Yeah, everything's, well, they're tearing up Hillside Avenue now
Oh, yeah.
because of the gas
The
bill.
gas,
There's
right.
2 wells that are on that road.
Yep.
So Aquarium's gonna tear it up. So, but I can pave on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Galasso opens their plant after January 1st on Wednesday,
Oh,
so.
they're gonna open it one day.
Yeah, they're like, oh, we'll do it next year, we'll put, hole patch in it. I go, no. I'm tired of plowing beat up roads. This has been
Cold
going on
patch,
since
waste
I've
of
been
money. You
there.
might just well put sand in it and let it freeze.
It just comes right up anyway.
Put the sand in it, pour some water on it, let it freeze.
I know,
It's
it's
just
better.
as good.
Plan for 2 copies.
So they're gonna pave it.
So I asked him for 1, he gave me 2, so that's why I put
Oh,
one in front of me.
And then I'm fighting with the state because they wanna dig up the pipe on 44 where it went into the catch basin that goes all the way down to Maple Avenue. And, the state
Print them out from last time, so we
okay.
have to
they
disapprove
want it
them.
done,
Okay, thank you.
back the way it was.
Like, wait a minute.
So the environmental.
It seems like I forget at
companies
least
there,
one thing
they're
each
going,
meeting.
okay, well,
Oh, no, here's the meeting from, the minutes from the 14th.
just gonna
Yep.
have to be
Okay, so we do have the last 2, but there's no
however
agenda.
long it takes to
Yeah, I
get
have
a
one.
contractor. So I hooked up
Yes,
a
please.
contractor for him. And I said,
Oh, you got extra, okay.
you know, you can't do that.
From
You
the side
can't.
of the gas bill all the way down to Maple Avenue?
Well, no, not this year. They eventually are, but not, now it's just that one drainage pipe that's hot right there.
Have we
Because
set
that
the
one
meeting
guy
for
that
the
can't live in his
ARC? Greg Case emails,
They go,
what are you thinking?
So
you know,
Donna actually
the
did
hole's
just get
gonna have
back
to
to
be
me. She
open. I said,
said
"State's
by
not
the
gonna
22nd
say
she'll
that
be
right now, and I wouldn't go for it on my road. In the winter, you can't do that.
I won't be ready yet.
The state gets wind of it, and they go, now we want the RCP back in the hole, because we're gonna do plastic pipe. And I said,
But if
well,
that date,
you
the
guys got the
22nd
pipe?
works, we could sneak in one before the end of the year.
He goes, well, we're not gonna supply the pipe, we don't have nothing to do with it. I said, well, I called around, you can't get RCP, so it has to be plastic pipe if we're gonna do it now. Otherwise, you gotta wait a month or 2 before it's made, and it's a special order, nobody uses that anymore.
It's gonna take you 6 months to get it made, at least.
So, what a nightmare, I swear to God. So they're like, we're not giving any permits until we have another meeting.
Where are you coming from?
January, they'll be digging it up.
It's just stupid, you know? I mean, it's an emergency, you know, let the permits
you
go for now. Worry about it in the summer, you know?
with a bathroom.
But they can't.
Oh, okay.
You know how the state works.
I was through there this afternoon about, must have been 2:30. Coming by the town farm, there's a tractor trailer coming out, hauling water.
They can't get rid of it. It's freezing in the tank.
Sure.
Luckily, it's warming up for the next week or so. Maybe they can get rid of some of it.
So it's alternate.
I saw you hauling one tank down last week, I see they took one empty tank out.
They took 2 fracks out. So they
Craig's
got,
all of us. Craig,
7, now
yeah,
they're
Craig
5.
is,
So that's a good
feeling
sign.
up to it. He just been
I
out
don't
of
know how
hospital.
good, but
Willie called me,
They get all the solids out,
an hour ago.
or still
East side of the wall should.
There's more
I'm glad.
dumpsters than there was from the beginning.
Yep.
I can't even drive in my yard.
Why, you got regulations you're, got a problem with?
Yeah, a lot of regulations.
You healthy?
They were trying to haul to New York with double trailers and overweight, and New York won't give them the permit. So they're doing one a day.
Yeah, me too.
Not letting them do it.
That's why I wear it, just in case. I'm not sure how many
To
people.
bring it to the facility. Then the holiday happened, that screwed everything up.
So they're very careful.
And it's just gonna get colder and colder. And you know what happens in that, them dumpsters gonna be frozen solid block.
I feel far enough
The
away
guy says
from
if that
them.
happens, they're there till spring. Hang on, that ain't good.
Better tarp every one of them.
Oh, they do, they have covers over everything. They line them too, they're like
Right, they're lying, yeah.
poly bags.
Poly line, yeah.
Yeah.
They're all covered. But then I have to lock the gate now every night because people are going in there, being nosy.
And throw it in my lap.
If you open it up, way home, you gotta lock it.
We have an expert.
I've been through that shit before, right?
How often do we have that?
And then, of course, we got that solar project going at the dump like right now.
So now they're doing
They're gonna be digging that road up, so I don't know how that's gonna work. They're gonna have to hold off, they can't. They gotta put the line right down the road.
right down that road, sure. Who's got cells on that tower, on the cell tower? Who has service on the cell tower?
No, it's not AT&T.
No.
Everything but AT&T, like T-Mobile and all that.
Yeah, okay.
And I have to keep that clear for them.
But that's good.
It's my responsibility.
Yeah. Well, you get good money for rent, so.
Yeah.
Town base.
What do they get? 40 grand. What's wrong with
Well, they called me
The
tonight,
hassle.
and he was obviously had a good cold.
They're always working on it. There's always something wrong with it.
Years to get them to do something.
I tried it.
Like put it in the belfry of the church and just leave it, you know, like they've done.
They should. I don't know why they won't.
Well, they finally, AT&T finally exposed them. I think they got the cells up on the old microwave tower. Cause Sprint has
Okay,
cell up there.
I've got, what do I have?
It's on now?
7:02.
Where they can put it in service.
We all set? I think we're, I'm recording.
Did we get an agenda? I didn't get an agenda.
That's Lance.
Lance,
Here.
agendas?
Do we have,
Hello? Hello? No,
Nice Thanksgiving.
Yes, I did. Thank you. Did you?
not through this? Oh, yeah,
Yes.
okay.
all right, good evening, everyone. It's 7:00, well, nothing agrees with anything. It's 7:03. On the Monday, November 28th, a regular planning and zoning meeting. Roll call. I'm George Clausen, the chairman. Craig Sandin is absent excused. John Cooney on my right. Peter Marchand. Willie Platt is absent excused. Troy Lemire, alternate, and Charlene Lavoy with two vacant positions. I'd like to seat both Charlene and Troy for this evening's meeting. Public comment? Any public comment other than what's we're dealing with tonight on the agenda? Okay. Agenda review, any modifications we have to make? No? Okay. We've got two public hearings. This is the PZC 22-16, zoning regulation change, applicant Charlotte Hungerford Hospital, owner Winston Health Center Incorporated, location 115 Spencer Street. Proposal amend Winchester zoning regulations to create a new defined use entitled boarding house dash charitable and add boarding house charitable to the uses allowed by special permit in the town gateway zoning district under 11 DAII. Boarding house charitable is a building other than a hotel where lodging or rooms or both are provided as a public service on a short-term temporary basis for unhoused individuals and families. Lance, you have the advertisement of what
Yep.
that went in, please?
So legal notice was sent and the butters were all notified.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead and make your presentation of what we have for us tonight, please? Introduce yourself.
For the record, my name is Brian Mediello with Charles Hungerford Hospital and Hartford Healthcare. First, thank you, the respect that was shown to the application by staff, and last time we presented here, I did provide an overview. I appreciated your questions and support to move this to a public hearing. Since that engagement with you, we have been readying the space. We received a checklist from the building inspector here in Winston and fire marshal. They are coming up tomorrow for a final walkthrough. We will be reporting to them that all of their items have been addressed. We have entered a sublease, received obviously the resolution from the owners of the building, Winston Health Center Board, and operating agreements been entered with the YMCA, and the award funds for the shelter all have been secured. So we're in position to start operating on Thursday, provided we receive support here this evening. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Lance and I did speak about some of the questions that have been posed by some of you, or maybe one neighbor came in to pose a question or two. But other than that, I think it's been pretty quiet, but I'm here along with several other resources to answer any, satisfy any questions you may have.
All right, so we're talking about modification to our zoning regulations that the building sits in. And who wrote the, I'm curious, because when we were here the last time, 2 weeks ago, there was a question about the nature of this emergency response. And you're planning on opening this thing and running it from December 1st till when?
Till April 1st.
Okay.
April 15th, excuse me.
Okay. So that would, this is a regulation change, so it could be used anywhere in that zone in town.
Yes.
And, but it sounds like it's a kind of a special, emergency kind of situation. Now, you've operated a facility with this kind of a format that you've got in the terminology here in Torrington prior to this?
Yeah, so listen, zoning laws do differ from town to town. Torrington found a different way to address and satisfy their zoning regulations. When we looked at Winston, we didn't have a parallel. So in consultation with staff here, we were drawn towards the language that you had about the boarding house. And it just didn't feel satisfactory to any of us, both at Hartford Healthcare and with your staff, because it seemed set for compensation. So knowing that you don't like to veer from your set precedent, right, it's something we need to think carefully about. We lifted as much of the language from the boarding house as we possibly could, but wanted to make it clear that it was for public service, it was temporary,
Sure.
it was for the unhoused, but used as much of the boarding house language as we could. We feel that this does represent exactly what we're doing, and, you know, it was, actually, I think you had the question was who drafted it. It was an HHC council that we've been brought in that does work with planning and zoning work. But we also ran it by your staff. We did have some input, and we made that change. And what's before you is really an affirmation of the comments that we received.
Okay. Can you describe, well, because of the people that will be using this facility, can you describe a little bit about who you envision from previous history, who would be using this, how do they get selected, and how do they fit into the the platform there, and how is it how would the proposal oversee it?
Yeah, fair. I'd like to bring two people in on that. The second part about operations would be Greg Briscoe, Executive Director of the Northwest Connecticut YMCA. And on the first question, Nancy, is that best for you to speak about the rapid?
Yes, that'd be fine.
Okay, you want to introduce yourself first? Just in terms of the population that we're serving, okay.
Hi, I'm Nancy Canavo. Nice to see you.
So that's what your anticipation is it's a homeless person that would be, and what do they
People who we
apply
use-
to you?
Not necessarily, they may be some of my clients, but, no, they're just anybody who is homeless in Litchfield County.
Mhm.
Whether they're individuals, family, it could be young adults, veterans. So we serve all the homeless people and families in Litchfield County.
There's an existing shelter system, but it's always taxed. Well, it's standard is it's taxed, but it's taxed especially as you go into the winter months, and there's also the concern about people who are living either in their car or in the woods or somewhere that they're at greater risk of harm to themselves.
Is the Y part of that? The Y shelter part of this whole umbrella organization? Yeah.
And so is Fish, and,
Fish.
they have been decompressed because of COVID, meaning they've been at half of their capacity, and they're slowly building up, so that'll help us with some of the homeless that do enter into the 211 homeless system. But yes, this is the population we serve.
So what geographic area do you answer for?
Said Litchfield County?
Litchfield
It's
County.
typically Winston, Torrington, some outlying, Canaan, Kent, Sharon.
There are no shelters over there, Nancy?
No. It's just the Fish Shelter in Torrington and the Winchester YMCA.
Those are the only two in Litchfield County?
Yes.
Wow.
Are we astonished or what?
I've been astonished for years.
Yeah. Let me ask you, why did this come up so suddenly? Is this what you were talking about last time, Brian? That the other place in Torrington closed?
We're not the only one doing a cold weather shelter. They're existing throughout the state. There's federal funds that have come through.
Yeah.
They're being administered by the state. Okay.
Yeah.
We're here to propose the one from Litchfield County. In the past, since 2003, we've been doing cold weather
Yeah.
shelters. I mentioned last time we were here that that's primarily been done in the first initial years by faith-based organizations. That just wasn't the sustainable model, and it was scattered site offerings. We moved when some federal funds were available, moved to consolidating, and for the past few years, we've been able to find a location in Torrington, which it is preferable from, where the services are based, right? But the reason this feels like a hurried application to each of you was after several attempts to locate, a suitable location in Torrington, this was not possible. We turned to Winston, and in particular, the site where the hospital maintains a lease, 14,000 square feet, but it is not currently being used. We thought that really lent itself perfectly for this purpose, and that brought us to you.
Are you aware, or your counsel for should I go into this, Kevin?
Yeah,
I mean, should I'm seated, so I can talk tonight, right? Are you aware that the charter has a provision in it, the Winsted Town Charter has a provision in it for emergency ordinances? That really, this sounds like exactly what that is. In other words, you're asking this commission to change its regulations permanently with the expansion of this use in the Gateway area, kind of like short notice. But the emergency ordinance can be adopted by the Board of Selectmen Monday and give you exactly what you need and want for the time period until a bigger plan or understanding is reached. I mean,
So while I wasn't knowledgeable of the particular provision that you speak of, I did pursue the concept of a selectman notwithstanding trying to override for the specific nature of this, and given that it's not an ongoing, indefinite service, through really town council and conversation with staff, that just was not a preferable option. Perhaps, Lance, you have some insight or maybe part of the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I will say Michael was kind of the lead on, he thought that the zoning avenue was the appropriate way to go, and the town gateway was an appropriate use in that zone, with a special permit, obviously.
and he spoke to the town attorney?
He spoke through Josh,
This town attorney?
manager. I don't know if he spoke with Kevin Nelligan or not. You know, I do think Kevin was brought in though in the conversation. So my understanding is you had a first conversation with Josh, our town manager. Then Josh talked with Michael, who is our zoning enforcement, and Michael talked with me. So it kind of got massaged a little bit, but they felt pretty strongly that the zoning was the way to go about.
I would like to know why, since they did that on our behalf, that should be explained to this body. Because I'm familiar with the emergency ordinance provision. I've seen it be used before in Winstead, and the language is so explicit and so tailored for this situation right now. All the Board of Selectmen has to do is, they don't have to have a public hearing, they don't have to do anything. They just make a motion, adopt it, explicitly stating the purpose of the emergency, and they pass it, and it's done. And it gets automatically repealed in 61 days from the adoption. So you could do it again for another 60, if that's what you needed. So I don't see how that wouldn't be specifically tailored for this kind of situation. Keeping this commission from having to make a decision on a use and there's some confusion about the whole zone itself. If I'm remembering from the adoption of the zoning regs several years ago, about whether that whole neighborhood should be a town gateway center or only the Winstead Health Center was designated part of the town center. But that's another issue. That's separate from this issue. Nevertheless, this now has long-term permanent consequences, as opposed to everybody wants to help, and that's why this emergency ordinance provision is in the charter, to be used in that way. Very simple, fast, done, they can do it.
And it has limitations on it.
And you're telling me you talked about this and we didn't know about this the last meeting? You didn't tell us that this had been discussed?
I think we talked about it a little, it's been discussed.
It was mentioned.
Yep.
This was mentioned at the last meeting?
No,
Of this meeting?
no, we didn't
2
get
weeks
into that
ago, we
case with
talked
the.
about it.
Michael did offer some comment in Lance as well, about the alternative method of approval.
I don't know, you have any?
Yeah, I got a question. What kind of thought was being done? I used to work for the city of Torrington for a long time, and they have a transportation system there. We do not have that. What kind of thought is into transportation for these homeless people?
So that's obviously a major component of this program to run successfully. Actually, your own Jay Case has taken the lead on that front on behalf of the planning committee, and the Northwest Transit District will provide bulk of the transportation needs. We still have some weekend coverage that we're working on, some technical pieces. I don't know if someone else wants to speak to it, but but the Northwest Transit has adopted a new stop pickup. They're familiar with the times that we'll be operating, and again, we'll provide be the predominant transportation provider. We always have the fallback of providing taxi service or something like that in emergency situations.
Well, they're homeless, so that means they don't have a car either, so.
Yeah, there may be some cars, people do live in their cottages, don't have
Right.
homes, but I addressed the parking issue with you last time, and it's adequate. But we still have some work to do on the transportation, but it's not going to be a barrier for us starting to operate on Thursday if all approvals are provided.
And my next question is, what are the hours that these people can be at this facility? So at some point, they're gonna be out of the building for, say, 8 hours. And that's where it goes back to the transportation thing. Where are these people gonna go for 8 hours?
Very, very good question. So I'm going to bring Greg up with this question.
Briscoe, CEO of the YMCA. And we've been operating a homeless shelter in Winstead for 36 years. So fully aware of the population and their challenges, and we seek to treat them with respect, and because in many cases not their fault they're in the situation they are, try to help them become better people and step out of that as well. Regarding this operation, so we are from 5 to 7 o'clock at night is arrival time. So we have to stop will be, at 7 or a little after 7 a.m. So, so that will put them on and get them down to Torrington.
So it's almost a 12-hour on
Yeah.
your own type of thing.
Yes, yeah, but they go down to, the soup kitchen's got a warming area, gathering place, there's more resources in Torrington, no question. But, that way it was key for us, if we were gonna move out of Torrington, that we would have to have that transportation.
So will they be bussed out of Winston facility to Torrington from
Yes.
that at 7 a.m.?
Whatever that first stop is, yes, and that time of the night leave, correct. Yes.
Is that 100% of whoever the population is in there?
I'm sorry?
Is it 100% of whoever is occupying the facility at 7 PM will leave at 7 AM?
7
will have to
a.m.
leave, yes, and no one will
It'll be
remain.
closed.
Right, our staff will be there from 4 till 8 o'clock, 4 in the afternoon to 8 o'clock, and then they will leave, and there'll be no one left in the facility.
I'd like to just say that there will be occasions, at least once a month, where we'll be holding health clinics. On those days, we would ask the residents who need care be allowed to stay behind, and we'll be staffing that and providing direct service.
Yeah, so that could be a little disconcerting having unsupervised, because, I mean, there could be males and females in there, that could be a problem.
And we operate mobile clinics all the time. We have protocol for safety issues, very clear. It's, we really don't have a concern going there and operating.
Yeah, you know more than me, so.
Just a question, what arrangements as far as transportation, if you have to throw someone out of the facility, they become unruly, intoxicated, drugs, any of those reasons? I mean, your buses have dropped them off and left. Are you gonna have a bus there in case somebody has to be removed, or looking for taxis or Uber rides, or what?
So, I mean, in terms of in the morning when it's,
During the night, when
Yeah.
someone is there and you find someone with drugs, intoxicated, or they become unruly, I mean, you're gonna rely on the police for all this, or what?
so when they arrive, we're gonna go through their, whatever they're bringing, okay? So, empty their pockets, go through their, whatever the kind of bags they have, and anything that, alcohol, medications will all be locked up in a separate room, so they won't have access to it while they're there. If they don't want us to go through a bag, that'll be locked up as well, so they won't have access to it while they're through it. If somebody, comes and they're intoxicated, we have a room for them, so they can be there and, for the night, so they'll still be warm. We're not gonna throw them out. One of the things with, taking the state's funds is it's low barriers. So we have to go on behaviors, as we have at our shelter for a number of years now, so we used to breathalyze the shelter, people can't do that now, it's basically on their behaviors, so.
So I get to his question, so just the lightest touch possible, right? One, you try to redirect when behaviors escalate.
Right.
Two, and you said you do have a room where you're separated from the general population. Hopefully that helps.
But you're not, don't have other transportation to remove them from the premises. You're gonna be relying on the police for that.
Well, if it's disruptive behavior, that's
Right.
where you would go. You wouldn't call an Uber driver if someone's.
Exactly.
Right?
No.
So it would be the police.
No, I'm just concerned, because we have nothing here from the police chief on this, Lance, either.
Right.
There's nothing, so.
He has been notified.
Right, I was just, usually we get a letter
Okay.
from the chief.
Okay.
That's my concern.
Just de-escalation, all of that.
Right, just because we have a small police force, we've, they're operating some nights, a lot of nights with only 3 people on a shift. It could be a burden on them.
How many,
Yep, Katie Vale, I'm the Director of Social Services for the town
Pardon?
of Winston.
Pardon?
Katie Vale, I'm the
Yes.
Director of Social Services for the town. I had a conversation with the chief, and he fully supports the operation and is prepared to, as long as his force is available and they're not on some other block, they're gonna be around and present
Right,
during.
I'm
the
just
day.
bringing up that there's limited services, so.
Right, there is also the mobile crisis unit that we could call upon 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
and where's that based?
At, on Winstead Road.
So Brian, you see this now as becoming an annual thing? I mean, do you have, is this a plan or is this an emergency?
We've only entered an agreement to take us through.
Okay,
we
so
did
it's an
release-
emergency? Yeah,
Yes, that's
okay,
correct. It's temporary as the proposed language.
gotcha, okay.
How many people do you have, adults there, to oversee this from that 7 PM through
We
7
have 2
AM?
staff on duty, and we have up to 39, so it's like a 1-to-20 ratio. It's typical, so 2 staff on duty all the time, every night. And we're planning 2 shifts, 4 to 12 and 12 to 8.
All right. John?
So, what are the months that you would be operating exactly?
Would be
What would the months that you would be operating?
December 1st through April 15th.
April 15th?
April.
Okay, yeah, because your original proposal showed May 15th, and
Yeah, that's the lease we entered. Takes
Okay.
us out to
Oh, that's
May.
your lease,
Just-
okay.
Just in case there's any extraordinary circumstances, the cleanup that has to take place afterwards, we just,
yeah, it gives you time to,
exactly.
afterwards.
Yeah.
Understood.
And again, to say what Charlene's saying, I don't understand why it's not clear to me why it's a zoning regulation change as opposed to an emergency situation. And I don't think we answered that question at our last meeting. I think that's something that came up.
We talked about it, and actually, I had another conversation with the town manager to see the feeling from the board of selectmen if that was a way to pursue it. And to be honest,
Yeah, but you know, it's not up to the town manager. This is a zoning
Right.
issue, and that's what this commission is
I was
for.
just gonna say that.
So,
would you
you
agree
know,
there's a need for this, though?
this is not about that at all.
Right.
Lance. We're
Well, I'm-
all in this room uniform on the need. The issue is the process. This process becomes a permanent change. This other process for an emergency shelter could have already been done a couple of weeks ago. We wouldn't be here and making these people come back twice. This doesn't give this commission any time to contemplate the impact. Think about the zoning issue, and I told you there's some issue about the whole issue of whether that whole place, all that residence up there is part of the town gateway or should be rural residential. That's another issue, as I said, but the emergency ordinance would accommodate the immediate problem, solve it, and they'd be in there 2 weeks ago dealing with it. And this is not a town manager issue. This is a zoning issue at this point.
Next winter, we'll be going through the same thing.
Maybe we will, maybe we won't. Brian's pretty resourceful, and who knows what he'll find between then. I just asked him that. He said right now they only have this lease this year. There's a year then for everybody to think about it, plan, decide. The health center is a great location. I agree with that. But to just go into it kind of, that doesn't make any sense.
Not at all.
I mean, I want to deal with the emergency. There's a solution to the emergency. It ought to get done Monday night at the Board of Selectmen meeting.
I appreciate your
I mean, Josh is the town manager. If he wanted to get that done that fast, that's what he should have proposed.
Right.
That it go to the Board of Selectmen ASAP and get it done. So,
Okay. Anybody else on the commission at this point want to, any questions? From the audience, anybody like to contribute some information for it or against it?
I'd just like to address this issue about zoning versus Board of Selectmen.
Could you just identify yourself, please?
I'm Julie Scharnberg, I'm the Vice President of Community Engagement for the Northwest Connecticut Community Foundation. We fund a number of the nonprofits that are involved in this cold weather shelter and have been actively involved in planning. When I was at the last meeting, the CEO who was here, I'm sorry, I don't remember his name, he did discuss this in detail and very explicitly explained why this was the preferred route instead of going to the emergency Board of Selectmen procedure.
that was at this meeting?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. There were two, if you recall, there were two things he said. One, that route does avoid notifying the neighbors officially. Now, I was prepared to suggest we would do it anyways, right? And we would make a formality of it, but that was one That's my recollection of, my personal recollection of what was said is the arguments, and that he would see, it doesn't relieve him of zoning enforcement, and the transparency of this process versus the other one were the two main arguments for taking this route.
Okay, anybody else in the audience have anything to say? Yes, ma'am.
Sarah Toomey, I'm from Greenwoods Counseling Referrals. I do community outreach in the community and from the great town of Winchester. This is really important. It's cold outside and people are ultimately gonna freeze to death if we don't have a solution here. So my concern is by leaving here today and not having a solution, it's going to put people at very high risk for health and safety. The other thing is we plan on providing a lot of support to these individuals with mental health resources, outreach, all just kind of encompassing and supporting them to make sure that their needs are met, their mental health is taken care of, and then we can also help them work toward a solution while they're in the shelter for jobs, any kind of resources that they might need to hopefully help them to not be homeless.
Anybody else have anything that they'd like to contribute? Does the commission want any other questions?
I've got none.
We could use a motion to close the public hearing.
Oh, so moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
John, second. Any conversation on the motion? All in favor? Okay, thank you. The next item on the public hearing is PZC 22-17, special permit. Applicant Charlotte Hungerford Hospital, owner Winston Health Center Incorporated, location 115 Spencer Street. Proposal request approval of a new use, namely boarding house charitable, for the purpose of operating an overnight shelter for unhoused individuals and families. Again, the same advertisement that was taking place.
Yep.
I don't have any paperwork from anybody with regards to that.
You know, I'm really apologize. I know there was a letter submitted on behalf of the fire marshal and the building department. We have those. I don't know why we don't have chief of police. I'm almost sure there was, but there's nothing in the file. But there was overwhelming support in this location, and like Brian had mentioned, tomorrow there's going to be another walkthrough at 3 o'clock to address all the concerns that they had when we went at the beginning of the month. Again, I don't know where it's my place or not, but it's a very well thought out plan. It's a good use of the space. It is appropriate in the zone. That's what I'll say.
So let me ask you a question, Mr. Staff Man.
Mm-hmm.
Can we grant a special permit on a temporary basis for this year?
Not if you don't pass the approval of the zone change first.
It requires the zone,
The
It would
zone
have to
has
have
to
the
be
zone
changed to
changed.
permit the
You have to
use.
change the zone, then you have to
Right.
approve a special permit. And in that special permit, you can put a time frame on it that the permit is good for.
There's no other way we can give it a temporary use, other than the
Yeah,
selectmen.
then through the charter? No.
Well, I think that's the avenue that you have to go, in my opinion.
well, the problem is this is a public hearing is going on, but this is a permanent change to our regulations.
Correct, that's exactly
Can
what
go
I'm talking
anywhere in
about.
the gateway zone.
Right.
So if you would like to present, we've got a copy of the paperwork you submitted, which has a layout on the building floor plan. So it's just that entire floor, it looks like, on the, facing the building, the left-hand whole bottom floor. So that's, how many square feet?
So, we occupy 14,000 square feet, proposed use is 6,000 of that. So if you can look at our space, it's essentially, if you're familiar with it, where you enter into the cardiopulmonary rehab.
Right.
Yes.
That whole area will serve as the main sleeping area, and you go down the hallway, all the way down. What's not used is anything that was the ED proper, and where currently the paramedic sleeps. That hall is untouched, and will be secure.
And how would this just gives us an outline of
Yeah.
shadowed area.
Yeah.
How would that space be divided?
So the main, so the bottom of the series of rooms that will serve as family rooms. The room we spoke about for any type of intoxicated or
Right.
disruptive behavior.
Yeah.
And then there will be isolation rooms if anybody is COVID positive. We will remove them from the general population. That's further down towards the sleep lab area,
Towards the back of the building?
towards the back
Yeah,
of the building.
at the far end.
So the lease is for all 6,000 square feet, essentially that L.
So that would be,
It's everything on the left side going down. The only thing on the right will be a staff lounge. And we're trying to get access to a cleaning room.
do you have a layout that you've drawn for this? How you would,
I
are
mean,
you
you're
gonna
asking-
petition this?
After we submitted, we did go up with the people who will be operating the YMCA, and we did label each room for its purpose. But prior to that, we did have the building inspector come through, William Petroface, and he did identify how many cots per room.
So you're using the existing structure, you're not framing things out or
We are
anything?
not framing anything out, no. It's existing structure, that's correct.
So you say there's a possibility of some of the people could have cars.
Yes.
So we don't have a lot of parking up there.
So the closest area, since we're not operating there, that closest area when you pull in to the left, there's 21 parking spaces there. 4 are for handicap, they're labeled as handicap, the remainder are open parking. The only cars, I've been going up there quite a bit the last few weeks. The ones closest to the drive, maybe 1 or 2 spots, there's some construction going on there. I noticed one construction worker parked there. One of the docks, I think routinely parks there, but for the most part, those are open. We can, if for some reason we have a number of homeless that are presenting with vehicles, we could certainly have the staff park across the street. Anytime I've been up there, it's not utilized at this point. That used to be.
That's the ED park,
Yeah.
in front of the ED.
What used to be the Winston Health Center staff would park across the street.
Yeah, where Lifestar would land over there.
That's
Yeah.
wide open.
Yep.
It really looks like all the demand is for parking in the back, and since since we'll be closing on most days by 8 AM, it really shouldn't cause any problems at all. We can monitor that situation and our overflow across the street.
And with the Lifestar area open, it's a good area for the bus to drop off and
Yeah,
pick up,
yes,
so.
Yeah, we want to respect the paramedic. There's always the paramedic vehicle unless it's on call.
Right.
The one paramedic that will have, he or she will have their vehicle as well. But those are near the carport. We won't disturb that at all.
I wish we had a floor plan of how how you're gonna get out of this, just so we can visualize the access points on this.
So the main entrance will be at the cardiopulmonary, right? That's the NL.
Yeah.
There are 2 fire exits. So the door that, I'm really counting you guys being familiar, but it's about halfway down the hall on the right, just past the ED. There's a long hallway that goes around, it's where the elevator banks are.
Yes.
If you continue down there, you exit right where the paramedic place is, and there's egress there. The second, for anyone who's past that point, it is off the back. There's all the exit signs remain. Anywhere we do no longer serving as an exit, we've covered. But if you go all the way down the hall, there's a second exit out the back.
So with that in mind, how is that gonna be maintained? Is that the health center people?
The egress from those locations?
Well, that's not a parking area in the back section that you said your rear,
I'm only talking in fire situations, which you exit, otherwise.
but you'd have to have some clearance in an area that is cleared and maintained if it snows.
Yeah, so it's right into the back parking lot is where you exit off the back, and if you come out on the other side.
So it'll
you're
be
in-
on the right-hand
you're in
side.
the carport, right,
Okay.
where the paramedic is, so.
Gotcha, all right, I got you.
So both are into the parking lot.
Okay. All right. Any more questions? Peter? No?
No, I'm good.
I just had one question. On April 15th, how did they shut it down? What is the process for that? you know, the clear out day or whatever you call it. How does that work?
So you're talking from the service perspective, how we transition the individuals that we're taking?
Right, how do they
from our-
transition out?
Yeah.
Right, exactly. From the temporary,
Nancy Campbell again. Typically what we do when the D-Day comes, people know that it's time to leave, and so we have to give them tents and sleeping bags unless we get them housed. But for the most part, I would say half of them do not get housing because that housing inventory has been very, very tight. So we give them out tents and sleeping bags, and that's what we do. They know it ahead of time. It's not like it just comes as a big surprise. They know when the overflow is over.
So you've had no problem with people saying, okay, it's time?
No. They may not like it, but no, as long as they have a tent and sleeping bags, and they're very respectful.
do they have like buses waiting or, on a bus schedule or something like that, or?
Well, that day would be,
Well, we take them back to Torrington that day, and that is the last time they come here. There's no more transportation back to Winsted.
I got you.
So if I could just expand a little bit more, when the bus will come, it'll come and take them to the soup kitchen for breakfast, and they will walk over, because it's a stone throw away to the gathering place, which is a drop-in center. They get all their services there, mental health, substance, laundry, showers, and housing. It's our local point of entry for all homeless. So they know the drill, and that's what would happen. They would be, on their last day, coming back to Torrington, whether they come to the gathering place or not for their tent and sleeping bag. You know, that's up to them, and we do have a system that when they're given a tent, we do put their, what they call homeless management information system number to the tent. That was per agreement with the Torrington PD. That way, if they come across a tent out in the woods, they see an HMIS number, they know it's somebody who's in our system, will let us know. If it's abandoned, we'll know who that person was, and we take it from there. So we have it pretty well covered.
Thank you.
So does this facility have any shower activity? It's just bathrooms?
Just bathrooms. Showers are available at the gathering place.
In Torrington.
Yes, in Torrington.
Okay, any other thing, John?
That's all I have, thank you.
Charlene?
The only other thing I would just mention that should have probably been written to the previous public hearing is that we did get a letter of support from the Northwest Hills Council of Governments, which was a requirement
That's with the,
for the zone
Regulation
change,
change,
but yes.
For the zone change.
all right, so
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
motion's made and seconded. Any comments on the motion? All in favor? Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. All right. Number 5 is activity on both of these public hearings.
Is there a proposed motion?
I have, I just wanted to read it, go into it. PZC number, this is number 5, old business, PZC number 22-16, zoning regulation change applicant, Charlotte Hungerford Hospital owner, Winston Health Center Incorporated, location 115 Spencer Street, proposal amend Winchester zoning regulations to create a new defined use entitled boarding house charitable, and add boarding house charitable to the uses allowed by special permit in the town gateway zoning district under 11.d.a.ii. Boarding house charitable is a building other than a hotel where lodging or rooms or both are provided as public service on a short-term, temporary basis for unhoused individuals and families. We have a draft motion. Who would like to read this?
Okay.
Draft motion, PCZ 22-16, zoning regulation change. Applicant Charlotte Hungerford Hospital, owner Winstead Health Center Incorporated, location 115 Spencer Street. Proposal, amend Winchester zoning regulations to create new defined use entitled boarding house, charitable, and add new defined use allowed by special permit in the Town Gateway TG zoning district under regulation 2DA2. Definition, boarding house, charitable is a building other than a hotel where lodging rooms or both are provided as public service on a short-term temporary basis for unhoused individuals and families. In evaluating this application, Planning and Zoning Commission has relied upon information provided by the applicant, and if such information subsequently proves to be false, deceptive, incomplete, and/or inaccurate, this permit shall be modified, suspended, or revoked. 2, this application is consistent with the town's plan of conservation and development. 3, this application meets the criteria and standards of 3J, common regulations, special permits, special exceptions.
Okay, there's a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Here's a second. Okay. Discussion of the motion?
I think,
Well, first I'd like to say thank you to all you folks here tonight. What you do is very important for communities. I applaud you. I happen to know Nancy out of all of you, and her heart's bigger than Winston, so, I appreciate what you do. With that being said, though, I also appreciate what this board has done with their regulations, and we take this very seriously here on this board. I think, in my opinion, that changing something this quick in our regulations is a bad move. As we all have done before, when we change the regulations, we work months to make sure that we dot our i's and cross our t's. I understand that this is an emergency, but there's also another avenue to handle that.
Yes.
I am not against what these people are trying to do tonight. It's admirable and it needs to be done. I just don't think that it needs to be done through this commission.
Peter?
no comment.
Charlene?
I think my position's clear about the process, not the substance, and clearly not that, understanding it's an emergency. But, you know, part of the motion is that it is, can I just see that for a second? Thanks, John. Consistent with the town's plan of conservation and development. Well, you know, this means it's not just something that can happen at the Winstead Health Center, which is an appropriate place for it to happen, but anywhere in the town center, which is not just there, it's in multiple areas. The town center zone is in multiple areas of town.
It's the gateway zone. Gateway.
Sorry, gateway, right. But that designation, that zone's designation is in multiple places in town, so this could have an impact other places in town that this commission didn't anticipate when it designated these town gateway and its uses back when the regs were thoroughly reviewed and overhauled in 2017. So, as Troy said, I just think there's another avenue to actually take care of this right now because there is an urgency that we're all aware of. And I think this unfortunately was not the appropriate way to address this issue. There are other things that accommodate the immediate issues and the immediate emergency, but a permanent zone change is something this board has not had time to contemplate.
Okay. Anything? I have to agree with you, Charlene, and Troy as well. You've got this section 307 emergency ordinance, which seems to very carefully handle what could be done by the Board of Selectmen in a very prompt way. So I applaud everybody that's worked on this and worked in the community a long time. And, you know, your work and everybody's work to do with this whole issue is very important and timely. But I think that it's, to mend our regulations this way, we're not just targeting that specific location. It's the entire town that's got the gateway zone in it, which is Route 44, inbound, outbound, both ends, Route 800 and Route 8 North. So we've got a lot of area, and it's the most flexible zone, I think, for doing almost everything that can be done here in the town. So it's been well, I think, documented to do that. So you know, the motion's been made, it's been seconded. I just feel that Section 307 with this Board of Selectmen is the more appropriate way to go about this, and it's quick, it can be handled. So if it's, anybody else have any other comments? All right, so the motion is to approve it. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed to the positive passage? Okay, we've got 4 against it and 1 in favor, so it fails. So why don't we take the motion and sign it?
That's all right.
Sorry about that, but that's, I think the better approach to it would be the Board of Selectmen. Okay, the next item is actually can't be approved because it doesn't have the zoning to handle it. So I think we should, I'll read the motion, and then we should vote on this as well, but it's,
Well, should we vote on it?
I think we should just remove it.
Can't vote on it.
Yeah.
Because
yeah,
we
that's
have
true,
no-
it doesn't have a zone.
You make
Yeah.
a motion to
So you can't vote on it if it hasn't.
not vote on it.
Okay, well, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I make a motion not to vote on it.
I don't think we,
We don't have to do that. All right, so this second one is not approved because of the zone was not modified. So, are you familiar with this Section 307? That's in our ordinances?
No, I'm not specifically, but
you want a copy of the charter?
no,
You do?
It's,
Okay, that's, kind of closes the issue. So I'd say the Board of Selectmen, and we should, Lance, can we give some kind of indication to the board?
Letter of
the
support.
judge, yeah.
Yeah, I think that that's the more appropriate emergency response to an important need.
That should be included.
And they can get it on their agenda for Monday night.
If it doesn't need to be a public hearing, then it doesn't
No.
need
No,
14
no,
days.
no.
It has to
Shows
be
here.
noticed on their
Yes, ma'am.
agenda, but that could be done by Friday, tomorrow.
There could be
Yep.
an emergency meeting for the Board of Selectmen for the emergency.
It could be, sure.
Good, you got it.
Yes, there could.
They wish to.
They'd still have to notice that though, Nancy. I mean, their regular meeting's Monday night, and their agenda usually goes out Friday, so that's plenty of time to get it on there. But if you wanted a meeting
Earlier.
Friday or they need what, 48 hours to post the
24.
agenda?
24 hours.
24 hours to
It's
post.
gotta be
You
posted.
could get one, this is only Monday night, so yes,
Wednesday.
you could have one Wednesday,
Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe you could try for that?
so you took your action, you respect it, right? Gotta move on, but what's difficult is that
Board of Selectmen has been consulted on this?
My knowledge, Josh called them, yes.
Is that so?
Yeah.
And why are we having this discussion outside of the public hearing now?
We don't, this is, I mean, the issue's closed,
Okay.
but if we can assist you, we,
But it's just, I'm leaving with a great deal of uncertainty. I know it's certain to you guys how this should go down, but the people have weighed in on this. Whether they use 307
It's interesting they didn't weigh in with us on it, though,
Right.
but,
We did, we discussed.
Well, there's a lot of material we didn't get that we should have had
Yeah.
before this meeting, let's put it that way. But
all right, well,
And Monday leaves us, with an exposure here that we can't operate on Thursday. And I knew there was always risk to that, right, respecting your process, but if this was approved, we'd be operating Thursday. Now we have to.
He'll be operating Thursday if you get a hold of the town manager tomorrow.
yep. He could make it happen pretty quick.
He has the authority to do that.
okay.
And he's already told you that he's for it, so. It's just that.
And we are also, but it's not,
responsibility's gonna be on
not
them.
under this zoning
Right.
business, as we've, yes, ma'am.
I guess what's confusing to me, and I'm not anywhere near as good at this as all of you are, but last 2 weeks ago, we went through all of this, the same questions, the same answers, Michael gave his explanation, and it was decided then to go to this public hearing. So I'm just really confused, because I guess I'm just confused.
Well, first of all, we typically do not have the kind of explanation that we had 2 weeks ago when we have an issue like this coming up in an application.
Okay,
We would have had all of that tonight, as you
At the
did.
public hearing?
That's correct. So we tried to understand, because we saw that there was an issue that needed timely response.
right.
And that was the first time that we had seen it. And we addressed it tonight. We did it the best we could. And we feel it's not the way to go about approaching this. We recommend the emergency ordinance of 307, section 307, would be the appropriate and most timely thing. And they should be able to call a special meeting and have that only on the agenda and take care of this. But this gives you the emergency timing that you need to do it right away with a specific, they can do it for, what is it, 61 days? And then you could extend it, so they go through the entire, to April 15th that you suggested. And everything worked out, they could do it again next year if that was the case. But what you've presented to us is an application for the zone change, or modification of the terminology within the zone that applies to the whole town, where that zone takes place.
And everyone, not just your application.
Yeah, it's
Could be
everywhere.
any application.
Right,
That's why we take
Yeah.
regulation changes very seriously.
I just feel like we were advised to do it this way, which is why we did it
You
this
weren't
way.
advised by us, so.
Not by us,
We would've
you
done
weren't.
it the easy way. if we
No,
could.
no, and I think that's what we see tonight in the summary is that probably to have an informal meeting with us to discuss which way should we go. But, we hadn't even talked about this emergency ordinance, at least amongst us, until, we started hashing the thing around and thinking about what's
Well,
coming up tonight.
Well, you came in with an application, there was no advanced discussion, but you came in with an application
That's
2
right.
weeks ago. It has to be scheduled for a public hearing under the law. We couldn't have made the decision 2 weeks ago.
No, but there was a discussion obviously going on with staff. And,
Yeah.
Right.
it's too bad that we weren't involved with it,
Should
with
have
our
had a special meeting to discuss the zone change before they applied to us.
Yeah. I mean, that's nice
That's
after the
unfortunate that
fact.
there just wasn't enough time, because
Yeah,
if this
the
had come in
timing
the
was
summer,
critical, yeah.
this would have, that
No,
would.
I think it's a very important issue that's gotta be resolved, and I think you've got a way to do it. It's just the procedure, I think, is the ordinance modification that can be done.
So we'll start working on it right away.
Yeah, I think you can go ahead and get.
And
get
it
your-
only takes a motion of the Board of Selectmen. Doesn't take a zone change, doesn't take an ordinance, I mean, it's just a
One vote,
motion of the Board of
done.
Selectmen. They can do it on the spot. They
It
don't
gets-
need
it
to
gets
schedule a
handled.
public hearing. They can do it sua sponte, on their own.
Do it Zoom at home for the emergency meeting if they had to.
They could do that.
Well, let them make their
That's up to the
decision
town
how they
manager and
function.
the mayor to figure out, but yes.
But I think your
It didn't involve-
concept is a good
require all of
concept. It
this.
just needs to be an approach that is not gonna, to me, in my mind, go through the entire zone for the whole town. So, yes, sir.
That's a question. So what your concern is that if it's approved, it can go in many places. So you'd be concerned that a shelter might show up in other parts of the town?
It could,
Is that what it
under the gateway.
It needs a special.
Would allow it,
It will
would allow it anywhere in the gateway zone.
Right.
Which is all of Route 800 from the Dairy Queen south, Route 8 north, Route 44, in both directions.
But if this is a permanent move that we would be doing here, that you've asked us to do, which opens that door for anywhere in that zone, they'd have to still comply with, you know, the building regulations and exits and entry points and security and all that business too, so,
Could be revoked in May,
which,
this ordinance, this change, or the.
No,
You'd
we'd
have
have
to-
to have a public hearing
we'd have to
again.
have another public hearing.
It's a
and
big
discuss it.
process, that's why
It's
it's an
actually a
issue.
bigger process for the commission to amend the zoning regs and to,
Go with the Board of Selectmen,
Right.
well, or for the public to come in with a proposed ordinance change.
true.
The ordinance
Proposed
change,
zone change.
ordinance, yeah.
A temporary solution for a request that's, you know, it's a temporary request, but we're making a permanent solution.
Right.
Okay, well, thank you for your time and your efforts. All right, 6, new business. Do we have anything, Lance?
No?
Uh,
There wasn't
other
anything else
business?
came in.
No. We've got two sets of minutes here.
Well, wait, new business, what is new business? What is that considered?
Bring up-
When can we talk about stuff as a commission?
That's new business, right?
Yeah. you want-
Bring it up.
Because communications is his
Yes,
report, right?
yep.
Or-
Right.
Thank you.
Or other business?
Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy.
See you, Nancy. I mean, this is an embarrassment,
Oh, I agree.
and this is not good for these people to have gone through this. What happened? And why is Josh having anything to do with whether there's a zone change in this town? He's the town manager. This is a state, you understand this, Lance.
I understand,
Zoning
but
and
I also
planning
am
is a
gonna
state
say, I
agency.
think this is appropriate to go this avenue.
Maybe, but not in 10 minutes.
Well, I agree it should have been more than a month, but to look
And
at
there
the
is-
town gateway, I actually think on Route 800 would be an appropriate place to consider a shelter/community center for the future.
But you guys work for us,
Correct.
all right?
Not
So,
them.
we
Right,
got,
but
we
you're
got
asking my
thrown under the
opinion.
bus on this.
Yeah.
Okay? Because
Welcome
we
to
had no
Winston.
time to discuss this. And as you know, you're gonna learn as you come here, all right? You're new, but this commission holds their regulations very dear. They work very hard to get them where they are.
It took 40 years to get to this point.
And we're not gonna
All these
change them,
regulations.
and because somebody has an emergency. It's
They
not
were-
gonna happen.
Yeah.
Until
I'm
this
just telling you.
division.
'Cause I'm a certified zoning and wetlands officer.
Absolutely
And
understand
I
what
would
you're saying.
always come to my commissions and tell them what was gonna happen if we were doing something like that. You guys don't have the authority to change that. You can give them all the advice you want, but until you talk to us and see where we're lying on it, that was a wrong move, and I'm not trying to be
And
mean or
going to
nothing.
Josh for it, he can't.
I'm sorry.
This commission is a state commission. It's not under any authority of the town manager or the Board of Selectmen, other than our appointments. So they have no authority over planning and zoning, and
I don't remember the refresh my memory.
I don't either.
I don't remember the question answered why this was the best,
What?
why making a zoning change was the best solution.
I don't either.
That's unfortunate, because I think it was.
I left here 2 weeks ago having this very question.
You did, you
Yes.
brought it up.
And I'm very familiar with this ball game, and that wasn't I mean, I'll listen to
I'll go back and review it.
but,
I should have done that before I came here tonight,
but,
Well, there
All I
was no
remember
formal
is-
action at the last.
there couldn't be, because it was
No,
just.
an
they-
application we received, and we
We
do
kinda
not
let, we kinda
typically,
let them,
we gave them more
take the
latitude
stage,
to kind of
yeah.
get us, because of the speed they wanted to get it done. And had it not been for that
And I
speed.
didn't have my
we wouldn't
charter
done it.
with me.
We didn't have
No, the speed was the factor.
Well, of course.
I mean, maybe someday down the line, we may want to change that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not gonna be forced to make a decision in one night on something that's that
I think
important.
that's a valid,
Well, that was
Comment.
really the essence of it, but I just feel so bad for them. That was.
I do too.
I don't feel bad for Brian. He knows better. And if he knew that this provision was in here, I asked him point blank, and he tried to, but he answered it. And that somehow the town attorney, our town attorney?
let him hear.
I
Well,
mean,
somebody did.
if I call Kevin and ask him, and he hasn't had any conversation with anyone, I'm really gonna be pissed.
Well, where's the letter from the town attorney too?
I got it.
I didn't get one.
I hope that though, there weren't assertions made here that weren't accurate, because that's
And my
not
other
right.
concern was, they're only proposing a 1-year thing. They wanna change a regulation
Yeah.
for 1 year.
Yeah.
Let the selectmen do that.
Exactly.
Done deal.
Done
And
deal.
that's in the ordinance
Ordinance, yeah.
business, so.
And I wasn't aware of that till tonight, so.
Yeah,
I wasn't aware of that ordinance either. Thank God that there is an ordinance like
Nope.
that.
yeah.
Good thing somebody did some research.
No, it was,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know that I know the charter, so I knew it was in there, but I didn't have it with me, and I wasn't in a position to make that presentation. I wondered,
that's
it
it.
took me a little time to figure out what's
No.
going on, and I'm a lawyer, and I know zoning,
It was
and I know
like-
the charter, so, this was not.
So may I make a request, if I don't get canned before the summer, and we readdress this summer to prepare for next year? Now,
Well,
I wanna have a very
This is
candid
why we have,
conversation, which is what I
this is
had
why
with
we
you.
have this subcommittee to be looking
Well,
at,
right now, the subcommittee's got a lot of work to do.
Yes.
If you wanna add it more to it,
Yeah.
maybe by summer, we'll have something out of the subcommittee, cause right now, we've
oh,
got
yeah,
nothing.
yeah. No, I understand, Pete, but my point is that's what the commission decided a month ago to do, was to say, this has been, the regs have been in place for a couple of years now, time to kind of review, see where we are, and we have the
I
subcommittee.
think first thing we've gotta do is get our map straightened out.
And we have to
Yeah.
get that
That's the
map
first thing
straightened
that's
out.
gotta be
I
done.
mentioned it to Lance tonight, because that's a huge issue, that neighborhood is gateway, when only the Winston Health Center was intended to be gateway.
That's what we had
And-
discussed.
And how do I know that so clearly?
Right,
You know how the health center got there? You're looking at it.
all right,
Yeah.
So
Otherwise it wouldn't
I
be
know
there.
all of these things, and how do I know so much about this zoning? You're looking at the people who did it.
That's right.
and she
And-
came in and argued with us when we were doing it.
That's right. So that was not supposed, that whole area up Spencer Street, only the health center was intended to be
That's my
part of the
recollection,
gateway.
yeah.
And the rest is rural residential. It's a residential neighborhood. The whole thrust of these amendments from the teens, was to work on strengthening the downtown residential neighborhoods. That was the primary
Right.
motive,
Right.
so,
Agreed.
all right, well,
Okay.
that was a
New
very.
business.
No, but
That was
it was
bad.
an important contribution to the evening's discussion.
I know, but I just,
No, I
I
agree.
feel bad. This was
No, I agree.
not good for
I'm-
these
I'm in harmony
applicants.
with that one.
That can't happen again.
All right, we got a minutes of October 24th, 2022.
Okay, October 24th, the only correction I would make, shows me present. I was present, but I was late. I didn't get here till 8:15 that night.
Yep.
So, because I think somebody was seated as an alternate in my place. I think
Me.
Troy maybe was,
Yeah.
till I got here.
Yeah, good point.
Otherwise,
So I'll make a motion to amend the minutes and accept them.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Thank you. All right, the second minutes would be the November 14th.
I'll make a motion to approve November 14th meeting minutes.
Second.
Okay, they've been seconded. Any other comments with regards to this one? All in favor? Thank you. All right, communications? Nothing?
Because of the holiday, really, the last 2 weeks hasn't been much, if anything.
Good. Did I send everybody, I've got it, my email had been hacked, so I've still got it,
Yeah,
but,
you sent me your new one.
okay, did I send?
No.
Okay.
I don't have a computer right now, mine crashed. Well, I made my son's home putting it back together right
I
now.
know
so
that.
Good thing
But
I
your
got an
email
IT
was
guy to
hacked?
fix
Yeah, huh?
it. Put a new hard drive in it for me, so.
It was a weird,
I don't even
yeah,
have a
I
computer.
thought,
I use
but
my phone.
I'm gonna send everybody
one at work.
Okay.
my new email. so we can-
Pam hopefully will update it now from
Right,
from
I
your
live
message.
on that,
I didn't realize
so-
that she would send it to your old one.
Got an iPad
Fine,
and phone,
thank you
so
for the follow-up. I
we
just-
live by with that, but
So something happened.
I got so much shit going on with.
Town planners report.
I have nothing to say. Oh, sorry.
That's a new one.
Look,
Just a-
I don't know what I'm supposed to say, but
one question on the solar farm, when you went up, did you notice if they've changed the lock on it to a lock?
they did. That's why we weren't able to go in. Oh, you mean for the fire department to get
Right.
access? Actually, Michael had notes to.
Because the
follow
last
up
time
with
I
that.
talked with the Winston Fire Chief, nobody ever made contact with him to order it. That was a few
Really?
weeks ago, so.
All right, I'll put that on my
But I'll
notes
check with him
again.
tomorrow to find out.
We did look.
Yeah.
Yep. So that was on his list.
Any enforcement updates or issues?
Yeah, we have something going on in Walnut. That's been a lot of back and forth correspondence. Seems like it's getting resolved though. It's like trees from the town property that fall into the neighbor property.
But some of the existing things, any updates on those?
Nothing since last time we saw Michael. Yeah, we did have I forget the address on Torringford Road. Scott came in again with a application for a pole barn. So we're talking with him again with, and I actually have to try to find another DEP rep to potentially go out for another site visit. So, but no, there hasn't been really much in the last 2 weeks. We did have a staff meeting that went very well, and we actually went for like 2.5 hours, so everybody had a lot to say. And it's worked out well. Our format has been to have Ted Schaefer, Economic Development start, so I've called it the TED Talk. And he kind of gives us an update on things going on, and then he can hear some of the day-to-day stuff. But he doesn't have to stay for the rest of it, which is good.
Well, plus we have a little more staff now, so
Yeah.
staff meeting used to be one person, now it's,
So as we go well. And then I went to the costs, so Council on Small Towns, I guess workshop, whatever you want to call it. And that was good. I made a connection with Fuss and O'Neill for an engineering firm in Manchester for potential streetscape projects, which you're going to hear about soon.
Okay,
But no, that's been about it.
okay. The 824, so that's coming in the first meeting in December?
Correct. So
Sewer
that
water.
just happened today. You guys don't know about that. So Jim Rollins reached out to me, and then Pam was also in the discussion. Technically, it's just a formality to just advise you, I guess, of what's going on. This is need a public hearing, so he would like to come to the next meeting on the
12th, I think.
12th. Thank you. Just to kind of give an update. So that could even be a new business.
Yeah, I think it's appropriate. It doesn't require our action because it's the same scope of work.
Correct. It's just the
Just the
cost. has
dollar
changed.
Just the
It's
additional
changed.
cost and
Yeah.
not the scope.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. And that's gonna happen with every project they bid, so.
Well, it's not only that, but what we're up against with the utilities.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
It's really crazy.
Yeah, utilities are sky high.
I know war in Europe is expensive, but it's worth it.
Oh, yeah.
This one is.
Well, it shouldn't have gone that far. That's the problem.
Of course not, Ben.
Anyways. Okay,
So thank you, but no, that's it.
okay. Motion to adjourn,
I'll move.
and a second, all in favor? Thank you. All right.
So Brian, we're gonna be busy tomorrow.
Yes.